Hello, everybody. Welcome to DrDarnise's House of Religion, Magic, and Conjure. Hey, I know it's been a minute. I want to come on and make this quick video in honor of Beyonce dropping a new record today. Okay, I'm telling my age. Well, first of all, I'm on vacation, and so environment is a little bit different. I've been on the go, y'all. I've been on the go for about a month. But anyway, I want to drop in and say a few words about this song, Break My Soul by Beyonce. And you may say, okay, why are you talking about Beyonce this time? Well, in this song, she's talking about a couple different things that I talk about in terms of uplifting our knowledge of ourselves as Black people, maintaining our own traditions, having knowledge and oversight of our own history and traditions. So one thing, this song, if you have not heard it yet, just go ahead and Google, everybody talking about it, right? Break My Soul. So one, it's house music. And because I talk about Black culture, Black spirituality, all things Black history, basically, I want to come in and talk a little bit about house music as Black music. Now, if you follow me on other social media platforms, in particular Facebook, because that's where I put a lot of my house music antics and sharing music, you'll know that I am indeed a lover of house music. I am a house head from way back. So I'm really interested in what Beyonce is doing here, because whether you really care for her or not, she is enormously influential in our culture, and what she puts out there becomes important. So it's not even so much about if you like her or you like her music in general. What she's doing is bringing a spotlight on house music. And it could get away from us as Black people that house music is Black music if you don't know it, if you don't know the history of house music. Now, I teach a course at the university. Of course, I teach African American religion, but I also teach a course sometimes Black cultural arts. And I help young people, college students, know the Black history associated with many of America's cultural arts, right? American culture is very much infused with Black culture, right? We pretty much set the standard for Black culture, not just in America, but worldwide. I mean, the most popular music worldwide is rap music. Most of us know that rock and roll is Black music, right? Rock and roll comes from the blues. If that's news to you, Google. You can look up Howlin' Wolf if you're not really familiar with that, but I think most people at this point are familiar with the fact that rock and roll is Black music. It just got anglicized or whitewashed by people like Elvis, right? But it comes out of the blues tradition. And my point being here is that if we don't know our own history and claim it and hold it, it can easily get away from us. It can get taken away from us because we don't know it. We don't value it. Think about jazz. Jazz as a genre is Black music, but the people who are really paying for jazz and paying to go see jazz artists all over the world are largely white people. Likewise with house, there is a version of house, so-called, called EDM, electronic dance music, EDM, which I call the gentrified remix, or the colonizers' version of house. And that has swept the globe, and those DJs who are playing EDM in these enormous arenas all over the world are getting paid 6 and 7 figures to play this dance music in these enormous arenas and stadiums all over the world. But the Black DJs who were around at its founding here in the late 70s in Chicago and New York, can't really make a living. A lot of them can't make a living. Now, I'm in LA. I live in LA. I'm in Savannah right now. But, you know, I stay listening to house music and going to clubs where house music is played. And a lot of those DJs in LA are making a living doing it. But many I know are not. They have other jobs as well. So my point is that if we don't know our own history, our own cultural productions, other people will run away with it and put their stamp on it and claim it for their own. And then say something like, oh, I didn't know that this was black music. Oh, I didn't know that there were black people here at this EDM event. Which is very, very, very irritating, I might say. Because it shows a lack of historical knowledge, which I have to say most Americans are woefully undereducated, to put it nicely. Just as an aside, I will say, you know, because I do teach college and I come on here and make videos about, you know, teaching people. It's really up to us as black people to educate ourselves about our own history and culture. Oftentimes, we will complain that our school systems or white culture, Euro-American culture, doesn't teach us our history adequately. Of course they do not, and they're not going to. How much longer do we need? How much more evidence do we need of that? Really, how much more evidence do you need to know that white people are not going to completely and adequately educate you about your own culture? That means that you have to educate yourself. You have to go out of your way to educate yourself and your own children, your own community members. And why wouldn't you? We have to read our own books. We have to uplift our own historical figures. We have to know our own history. So if you don't know about house music, you could use the Google machine, as I always tell my students. The history of house comes from Chicago and New York, the late 1970s, kind of on the heels of disco as it was dying out, right? Because, you know, disco kind of came and went, and, you know, it was very, 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 very popular, and everybody loved disco, and then until everybody hated disco, and they didn't want to be bothered with it anymore. But people still wanted to dance, especially gay, black, and Latino men who were in the clubs and who were still dancing after the disco came and went, right? And so we have two figures in particular. Here comes the history lesson. Two figures in particular who are associated with the origin of house music. That's Larry Levan, the DJ, and Frankie Knuckles, DJs. Both of them have passed on. Frankie Knuckles is considered the godfather of house music. Okay, so when you have people like David Guetta claiming to be the father of house, that's like somebody saying Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll. But see, if you don't know, because imagine, if you didn't know that Elvis Presley didn't create rock and roll, you would think Elvis Presley created rock and roll, right? Or at least popularized it. Okay, so for house music, I'm taking this moment where Beyonce has dropped this song, Break My Soul. Again, probably you've heard it. If not, go right here on YouTube and type that in, and you'll hear it. And it's pretty cool. I like it. It's got Big Frida in it too. If y'all know Big Frida, she's the queen of bounce out of New Orleans. Bounces house music, not really house music, dance music out of New Orleans, regional kind of sound. And so Beyonce is once again working with Big Frida. And so it's a nice house groove. I won't say it's the deepest or best house, but I think what's going to happen is, because Beyonce being the queen of entertainment that she is, house music is going to start to get a lot of attention, and people are going to act brand new. Oh, I didn't know about the house. Oh, I didn't know about house. Oh, I didn't know about house. So I'm telling you about house music. It's black music, and don't let nobody tell you otherwise. If they start, you just mention Larry Levan and Frankie Knuckles. Okay, so when they want to tell you about some European or Euro-American DJs doing EDM at those rave parties and glow sticks and all that. Well, they have done what they always do. They come along into black communities and they take what's ours and they remix it. They put their own faces on it and they call it their own. Now, when I'm teaching, I tell my students, okay, when you don't know your own stuff, somebody else is going to come along and put their stamp on it. One day, imagine that people say that rap music is white music. Oh, no, that can never happen, they tell me. Oh, no, it can never happen that people would believe that rap music is white. It already happened with rock and roll. It already happened with rock and roll. A friend of mine recently told me she loves to go swing dancing. Y'all know swing dancing. Comes from the tradition of black people like jitterbugging and all that, out of like the Harlem Renaissance era and even before, the juke joint era. Black people doing all kind of dancing, like gymnastic kind of dancing together, right? So the scene for swing dance has become all white. So if you haven't seen this old footage of black people doing like the jitterbug and whatever, again, use the good YouTube, the good Google machine, and just put in jitterbug. You can put in Hell's a Poppin', as a matter of fact. Hell's a Poppin', which is a film, it's a short clip of black people doing the most on the dance floor, as we do. But now if you look into the communities where people are doing the jitterbug and all of these kind of, retro kind of vintage dances, it's mostly white. Because they do what they do. They take from our culture, they put their face on it, and then people forget that it's black music. So I'm just here to say, okay, thank you, Beyonce, for bringing some recognition to house. I mean, I've been in this since I lived in New York in the early 90s. I love some house music. I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Okay. So I said there's two things. The other thing is she is talking about in this song what I've been talking about with my program, Black Women at Midlife. So I've been talking about that a bit. And so I've been posting it in our community tab and all of that. But I'm doing an online course right now. It's a hybrid online course and group coaching program where I am leading a group of black women over 40, I would say, who are at a point in life where they are looking at the next part of their lives. What am I going to do next? What's next for me? Right? I'm not old. I still have a lot left to give. I'm trying to finally live my life on my own terms. Right? So there's a movement around people in midlife, and I'm focusing on black women at midlife who are saying, hey, I could retire early, but then what? Hey, I've always wanted to do this other thing, but I've never had the time to do it. Or maybe, they had some life transition. They've had a health crisis. Their children have gone on and left the house by now, grown up. They've had a major, separation, divorce. Something has happened that has changed the landscape of how they're living or how they feel inside. And they're asking the question, what next for me? So I've been working on this program for a year, actually, and I finally did a soft launch on it, and I'm going to, do the major launch this summer. So if you're interested in that, Black Women at Midlife, right, for women who are asking the question, what do I do now? I've had a dream, or there's something else calling me and I really want to step into it. Now is the time for me to do something else. Now it's time for me. Now I'm finally free from raising kids or taking care of this person, take care of that, or putting other people's needs first. Holler if you hear me. Comment if you hear me. That's just a whole movement. Midlife is messy and magical. So back to Beyonce's song. In her song, she's talking about how she's on a new vibration, how she's creating a new foundation for herself, how she's releasing the job, releasing the stress, releasing the old. So her song is also relevant for us. I'm calling it's our anthem. Anybody who's in that space where you're like, I got to recreate this. I have too much life left to live to just sit around and do nothing. My cousin today told me she retired, and she says, oh, I'm failing at retirement. I took another job. So sometimes that happens, right? People retire early, or they're, a young 60, and they're like, I retired from my career, but I still have things I want to do in life. And so, you could go back and take another job, or you could take this time to step into your own creativity, your own, I call it creative entrepreneurship. But maybe you need some help, some support in how to do that, how to walk through the fear and doubt and the uncertainty and all that stuff that comes up when you get ready to make a big change. I've done this a few times in life. I've recreated myself. And if you got my book, 40 something, you've probably read about, how I've made those kind of transitions for myself, more than one time. So, yeah, Beyonce's song is an anthem for us, or anybody looking to recreate, right? So, yeah, I want to come on here with those two things. Don't let nobody tell you that house music is European or nothing like that kind of foolishness. Not on my watch, as you know. Not on my watch. We got to keep and maintain our own historical knowledge, our own richness, cultural richness. Other people will steal it from us, and we know they will because they've already done it, and they stay trying constantly, right? Unless we stay on them like, hey, you're appropriating, you're doing cultural appropriation, you're a culture vulture, right? Always out here stealing other people's culture. Like, who does that? You know who does that. All right, so as I said, holler if you hear me if you are also a house head. Let me know who your favorite DJs are if you are. Let me know if you are interested in the Black Women at Midlife. It's called Diamond Level Coaching for Black Women at Midlife, and I will be happy to send you some information about that. Again, I'm helping Black women at midlife step into the next stage of your evolution. How do you put together your next stage? Okay, so bye for now. If you've gotten to the end, as usual, put in long haul. That's it. Bye for now.